Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Fast Flag Facts with John, the show where we look at history and culture, and today we're going to look at science fiction all through the lens of flags. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode where we looked at the flag of Sicily. Those feet really freak me out. Today we are going to look at something that maybe you guys didn't even know had a flag. We're going to look at the flag for the planet of Mars. This flag was designed by a man named Pascal Lee. Pascal Lee is a scientist. He was born in 1964 in Hong Kong, although he has had quite an international upbringing. He was educated in Paris, and this is where he first became interested in space. As a teenager, he became a member of the Cosmos Club de France in 1982. He was a very important member of that club for almost a decade. He later went to Cornell University, and that is where he got his PhD in astronomy, and this is where he really fell in love with Mars. Lee eventually went to work for NASA, where he spent many years, and he is a founding member of the Mars Institute. Both Lee and the Mars Institute are credited with significantly furthering the aim of studying Mars with the goal of eventually getting a manned spacecraft onto Mars. The Mars Institute is very interesting and definitely worth looking up. Now, the Mars flag is a vertical tricolor featuring the colors red, green, and blue. It is meant to be a chronological visual representation of the concept of terraforming Mars, basically changing the planet from a red rock that is unable to support life into a blue planet that is very Earth-like and able to support lots of plant and animal life. This concept is a direct reference to a series of sci-fi novels by a man named Kim Stanley Robinson, the Mars trilogy, which I read back in 2014 and I highly recommend as a series of hard sci-fi novels. They look at the geopolitical ramifications of actually colonizing Mars over the course of several hundred years. It's kind of dry stuff, but if it's your cup of tea, then I think you'll really enjoy it. The concept of terraforming Mars was not created by Kim Stanley Robinson. It is actually very popular in science fiction, and as we continue to move through the 21st century, it is becoming one that is often discussed in real life as something that could or could not possibly happen. This flag is not super common. Most of you have probably not heard of it. It did fly in space. It was taken up by an astronaut named John M. Grumsfeld when he flew a mission for NASA to the Hubble Space Telescope, specifically mission STS-103. So it is a flag that has been flown in space. The only place that you're really ever going to see this flag in the real world on the planet Earth is at the Flashline Mars Arctic Research Station, which is a Mars-like training facility found in the very, very northern reaches of Canada. Basically, this is a place that is almost as close as we can get to Mars on the planet Earth, and so a lot of research is done there, and they fly it on behalf of the Mars Institute. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this flag is that it is an interesting one. Now, of course, it's not really the official flag of Mars. Mars doesn't have any people that live on it, and despite what maybe the United States will try to convince you, nobody owns Mars. So, of course, it doesn't have an official flag. However, this is kind of the closest thing to it, and Pascal Lee has said that this is meant to be the official flag with Mars. Now, just because Mars has not yet been colonized does not mean that it will never be. When and if it is colonized, it will probably eventually have its own flag. That'll be up to the people and government that exist on that planet. But it does create some interesting questions, which I think get to the core of why flags are interesting and important. Questions like, who has the right to make a flag for a place? Pascal Lee is sort of speaking for Mars, and Mars is not able to speak for itself here. Who has the right to create a flag for other people? The idea of colonization is invoked here, and that is a very loaded word. Who gets the right to make a flag for a people if you are the colonizer versus the colonized? This flag specifically also represents the idea of terraforming, which is actually quite a controversial concept in some circles. The idea of, do we as Earthlings have the right to go to another planet and to change its very foundational structure. It's also a fun excuse to talk a little bit about space and sci-fi, which are two things that I also enjoy. And speaking of sci-fi, there are actually lots of fictional Mars flags throughout the history of the canon. Let's look at a couple of those right now. This one is more popular recently. This one comes from The Expanse, which is a series of books as well as a television show representing a colonized Mars. This flag from The Expanse is meant to invoke the idea of Mars in the center and its two moons, and the blue crescent represents the terraforming experiment. This one is from a 1994 book called Moving Mars, represents Mars as well as its two moons. I don't know what the colors represent here. And this one is from Robert Heinlein's 1961 book, Stranger in a Strange Land. This one is simply a white flag, which we all know is not great, featuring what is considered now the masculine symbol, but the official name of this symbol is the Sigil of Mars, the god. So what do you guys think? Do we like this flag? Does Mars need a flag? Do we need to make flags for other planets? Should we make one for Saturn or Neptune? Are any of the fictional Mars flags better than this official one? Personally, I think that this official flag for Mars looks a little bit like a jar of Jif peanut butter. But that being said, I do really like the Kim Stanley Robinson books a lot, and so I think that it is cool that this flag is referencing what I think is a very good book series. So I don't know. Jury's out. Alright guys, that does it for another episode of Fast Flag Facts with John. Remember, as always, to like and subscribe to this channel. Maybe leave a comment, I don't know. Next up, as we head into a new month, we are going to look at a national level flag. Why don't we start near the top of the alphabet and look at the flag for the country of Albania.